Hello, scrapbookers. It's Katie Scott, and I am coming to you live from post euphoric high of being on the Paperclipping Roundtable podcast. I'm so excited. And so, those are the headset. This is the headset that they sent. And if you are ever wondering, because I was always wondering what they send, it is, and thank you, Noelle and Izzy. They made everything super easy. It's a Logitech, and it is H540. Those are the headsets that they send out. And it was so funny because I really thought we were going to be like on the headset, and I wasn't like I didn't really know how that was going to work. But it was just the headset. But I was a teenager in the 80s, so I had to like get the hot rollers out. Like, look at my awesome hairdo. So I put in pigtails because I knew that Noelle likes pigtails, and I wear pigtails all the time too. I really do, and I do. I'm a 42-year-old lady who wears pigtails out in public. Yeah, but I did my so I did my hot roller thing, because if you were a teenager in the 80s, like if you were getting dressed up, like basically you did your hot rollers before you did anything else, and it's like automatic reflex. I cannot not do that. I just have to hot roller my hair if I think something is important. So I thought that was pretty important, and I'm thinking my hair looks pretty cute. It's not too big. You know, the more nervous I get, so I was a little bit nervous, but the more nervous I get, like the higher the hair gets. Yeah, I love big hair. Or I do, and I know it's not in style, but something about my just DNA of growing up in the 80s means I can't like get ready for an important event without hot rollering my hair and then making it as big as possible. It's just I don't walk around like that any other time. Like on a normal day, my hair's all flat and not curled, but yeah, if I think something's important, it gets some hot rollers. So okay, so the topic of the paper clipping roundtable, and I made notes, and so I made notes, and I had a lot of beverages. So I had like cough drops. I had a big cup of coffee, which I didn't drink. You can see I had a Red Bull, which makes me burp, so I kept trying to not burp, and I was so afraid Izzy was going to be like, "Who's burping? Somebody's burping." You know, they're always like, "Who's being a robot?" They'd be like, "Who's the burping one?" That would be me. I had my water. I had all of my devices turned off. I have notes on my door that say recording a radio show, because I didn't think my 89-year-old mother-in-law would understand what a podcast was, and then she would come in to ask. So I just said a radio show. She always has a lot of questions. But like whenever I'm trying to like do a conference call or something, I'll always get at the back door, "Katie!" And so that didn't happen. I had my husband take the kids to karate, and my son is taking his final black belt test on Saturday. So it's a 7-hour, it's either 7 hours or an eternity of testing on Saturday. And so he's over at karate with my daughter, who's also there. And everybody was warned, like, and I turned this off, and I don't usually answer the phone anyway. So when I make a lot of videos about scrapbooking, and I will just press play. And my videos and my process in scrapbooking is really a process where I just press play and I don't prepare at all. Scrapbooking doesn't make me nervous. Making YouTube videos or Ustream videos of very crappy quality does not make me nervous. I can just press play and then talk for 2 hours. But recording like live with the paper clipping roundtable made me a little nervous. So it was my first time, and I hope I was okay, and I hope they'll have me back, because I just love everything that Noelle Hyman and Izzy Hyman have done there, and I just think they're completely awesome, and I love that they took that chance, and how nervous I'm assuming they probably were when they first started. I think it just took a lot of bravery, and like has totally changed how I think everybody thinks and talks about scrapbooking. At least it did for me. I listen. I have my iPhone with me all the time, and I listen to the Paperclipping Roundtable when I'm on the treadmill. I listen to it while I'm scrapbooking. I listen to it in the car, and I listen to the episodes over and over again because I'm a nerd like that. But a lot of times, the nice thing about that is sometimes you will pick up things that you didn't hear the first time. And also, I just like having that noise of somebody talking. So a lot of times I'll feel like here I get all the benefit of being at a crop, but I'm here so I can just be listening. And so I like the audio version of talking about scrapbooking because I don't have to be looking. My focus can be on my what I'm doing. And so I usually, when I make videos, they're kind of like that, like right now. You can be looking at me, but I'm hoping that you're not just looking at me, that you're just that you're going about your scrapbooking thing, and then this is sort of playing in the background. And that's how I like to think about those shows. But I have all sorts of things I wanted to say, but we were all pretty talkative, and I got to say some of them, but not all of them. So here we go. Ready? These are all the things I didn't say on the Paperclipping Roundtable. So this is like the after show, I'll call it. I have a lot of notes. Let's see. Yeah, and then I couldn't be shuffling around, and I have not ordered these pages, so they're all in different order. But I'm going to read them because I want to remember them, and I will sometimes even look back at my own Ustream videos, and I love to hear myself talk. Like literally, I love to hear myself talk, and I like to hear myself talk while I'm scrapbooking because it reminds me of stuff, and then that helps me to say if I'm not having a creative day, tune back into when I was having a creative day. So my name is Katie Scott, and here are my notes. And I did mention this in the Paperclipping Roundtable that I use a different name for my scrapbooking name because Scott is a fairly generic last name. My maiden name is a very specific maiden name, and so I don't use that for scrapbooking. I can't remember the tangent we were on, but we were talking about, I think Karen Grubenberg was on the show, and she works for Google, and so she said something to Noah Hyman like, oh, well, good luck if you ever, try to get a job after this, because you could just Google yourself, and then everybody would know everything about you because of the scrapbooking. And I put a lot out there, like intimate details about my life, out there under the name Katie Scott, which is my name, but it's my scrapbooking name. My lawyer name, my professional name, is I include my maiden name as my middle name. And so when I say my name, it has all three of the names. And so then you would actually get, if you knew me in real life, then you would know that. You would know the whole name. And it's not a secret or anything, but when people are searching for me, the professional me, I don't necessarily want them to find like pictures of my kids and their diapers, and I'm all little stickers and everything else. Way tangent. See, I can talk for a long time. Okay, so my blog is Kiss and Tell Scrapbooking, and it's at .com. And the reason I named it that was KISS stands for Keep It Super Simple, and then Tell for Tell Your Story, scrapbooking. And it was just a little reminder to myself, like, this is what you should be doing. But it was also like the concept of Kiss and Tell, where I really, we just kind of, like the concept of just telling it real. So like I've never wanted to become beholden to anyone where I was, having somebody influence what I was saying on my blog. Like, it was really, this is for me. And also that Kiss and Tell scrapbooking, like KTS is my initial, like it's Katie Scott, KTS. So there's my goofy blog name, Kiss and Tell Scrapbooking. My history. I have been scrapbooking forever, and I really have been. I've been. Wednesday. Here to round up. I've not been a a very good technical person forever. Hold on, let me find myself again. There I am. Okay, so when I was a little girl, my parents were divorced, and like on the weekends, they got divorced when I was 5. On the weekends, like we went to live with my grandparents after the divorce in another state, and we like actually lived in their house for a while. And then my mother was a working single mom. So like most weekends, she would just dump us off at the grandparents' house, which was awesome because they were like my favorite people in the entire world. And usually my sister would go off with my grandma and they would go to the store and blah, blah, blah. And I thought that was boring. So I'd hang out with my grandfather, and he was an accountant who worked out of the house. So sometimes we'd be in there and I'd like hide under the desk while he met with clients, which was like kind of why I think I wanted to become a business owner. And I have a family business, but also his passion and hobby was art. And so when he wasn't busy being an accountant, he was doing art. And so I would do that with him too. So we would go to painting classes, or another thing we would do is we went bicycling all the time and sailing. And so we would go do active things, we would go do art things, or we would be, working. So that's kind of like how I lived my life, and I think that's why. But after they died, my aunt gave me a bunch of things that I had made when I was young, and I found like like when I was a little girl, and I had completely forgotten about this, but I made like little mini books, like before they were ever called mini books, but I made mini books. I really did. And so I was really like scrapbooking in a very old-fashioned type of way. And my grandmother had scrapbooks, and actually her mother and my other side of the family, they all had scrapbooks. So like scrapbooking goes a long way back with me and with my family. Let's see. I went to Eckerd College and I studied business because I thought I was going to go into my dad's business. But I didn't because he sold it. But then I went to law school on the recommendation of my uncle, and then I became, my husband and I started a business together a couple years after I met him, and our business is 16 years old, and our children are 11 and 9, and we have a very busy life. And some of the things I would like to do, like in my lifetime, are I would like to do paintings like my grandfather did paintings. And I would like to write a novel. And I actually started writing a novel before I had kids. And I didn't finish. I actually started 4 novels. I'm a great starter. I'm a poor finisher. But I never finished them. And with having children, I just found like being a working mom with kids, like I still want to write a novel, but it's not at the top of my priority list. But scrapbooking kind of fills the need for me of writing and art and family. And so, because when you're a working mom, you always have that guilty mom thing. You're always feeling like, when you're at work, you wish you were with the kids, especially when they're very small. And then when you're with them, they feel like you got to be at work. And because it's a family business, my work is really 24 hours a day. And my husband and I finally get a chance to talk. It's usually about work if we're here. And then it's usually about the kids if we're at work. So anyway, scrapbooking really was a nice way to appreciate my life and to celebrate my life and to record it and do it in an artsy, fun way every single day. And I really do. I've been scrapbooking. I do scrapbooking every single day. And I think it's an important part of my life. Okay, where you can find me online, or like my little scrapbooking resume, I would guess, is I started, I was a teacher and on the design team at a place called Scrapbooking in Paradise, which started out in St. Pete Beach, and then was in Pasadena, and then they sold it, and it's actually in Seminole now, and it's actually called Scraps of Art. But I was on their design team, and I was a teacher there. I had one page one page published in Simple Scrapbooks before it went away, and I didn't really submit to any other magazines besides Simple Scrapbooks, but I would take their like every month they would have, or every couple of months they would have like a magazine call, and so I would just take that list. Like here I've got, if you can see it, but I've got like I'm now on Get It Scrapped, and so each month we get like these assignments, and so I would just take, before I was on a creative team, I would take the design calls from Simple Scrapbooks and put them up here, and that would be like my assignments for that month. And then finally I had one published. It was about how my mother-in-law does 5 miles on her bike every day, and she still does, and it's really cool. Let's see. Then I had an article in the magazine First for Women, which is a magazine where when they contacted me, I was like, I don't really read magazines, but I was like, I don't know if I've heard of that. But it's when you check out in the grocery store, there's like a line of tabloids, and amongst those are a couple of, like, there's Women's World and there's First for Women, which are like discount women's magazines, kind of like a Red Book almost, but $1.99. And they have 3.5 million readers. And so in 2009, they did an article about me and my scrapbooking, and it was titled "How Scrapbooking Saved My Marriage." And I can go on a really long tangent about that, but I'm not going to. So just check out my Kiss and Tell scrapbooking blog and just put that in the search term, and you'll find all about that there. I was also, because I was such a big Simple Scrapbooks fan, when Simple folded, and then when Lane Amon and Angie Lucas went out and created Ella Publishing, which is now part of Big Picture Scrapbook, they invited me to be one of the Ella Publishing friends. And so that was like my first online, I think, creative team. I think that was in 2009. And then now I'm on Get It Scrapped, and I'm so thrilled because I thought it started last summer, and I thought it was just going to be a year, and I was like, oh, I've only got a couple more months, and I'm really, like, I love it. I've got my assignments up here, and it's almost like, okay, what do I scrap next, or what did I just make, and how can I fit it into one of those things? It's just really, it's almost like a class. I love it. And they don't tell you, they don't like make me use any specific product or anything like that. They give some guidelines, like, for example, they'll tell you what kind of a technique they're looking for, or a motif, or a subject matter, or something like that. And so it's just a fun way to scrapbook. I love it. And then I'm also on the creative team at my local scrapbook store, Whimsidoodle, so I get to actually see real life people. And for that team, they'll give me a kit of products, and so it'll be like the latest and greatest, which is awesome. So my first assignment was with Jenny Bolin products, and then my most recent assignment was with the new Amy Tan Yes Please, which was just totally great. So the project is over at Whimsidoodle in downtown St. Petersburg. Wow, I can talk a lot. Yeah, there was no way I was ever I was like over prepare. And that way it kind of relieves my nerves a little bit. But okay, I've tried to go quicker because I'm even getting a little bit tired of hearing myself talk now. We're 19 minutes in. But I won't hurry. I'm good. I'm good on time. Okay, so the first class I took online, I think it was Stacy Julian's Library of Memories. I'm pretty sure that was it, in 2007. And that was because of I can't reach it. I'm short. But I read her book, Big Picture, the Big Picture, yeah. And I loved it. And so when I found out that she had online classes, that was a natural fit. So that was the first online class that I took. I've taken lots and lots of classes at Big Picture Scrapbooking, and I actually copied and pasted my, like, your classes, because with Big Picture classes, you get forever access to your classes. So anything you've ever taken there, you can still go back and look at. But anyways, I took in that class, my classes list, I copied and pasted that onto my blog. So if you're interested in which classes I've taken, you can take a look at my blog, Kiss and Tell Scrapbooking. And I kind of reviewed which ones I liked the best and that sort of thing there. I've also taken classes from Shamel Lane. You can find her at shamel.com, or if you search in YouTube, you can find her as Glitter Girl or Shamel Lane. While I was with Ella Publishing, I don't know why I'm getting nervous. I get post nervous. It's weird. Afterwards, when I was with Ella, we got access to all of the ebooks. So I've read lots and lots of their ebooks, which are just about like a class. And I listened to the Paperclipping Roundtable, and I really consider that a course. And I don't currently, but I have been a Paperclipping member, and that's where Noelle Hyman has, like, I think like 250 very professionally done videos. And what I really like about her videos is that she's got a unique take on everything. So, you know, if you've heard about the rule of 3 or whatever design concept or storytelling technique, she's also talking about those things, but she's created her own language. Like, it's all she's made up her own, and she's here on Ustream. I don't think she really Ustreams anymore, but she had like a Tuesday night thing on Ustream, which is very different from what her Paperclipping membership is. So if you've never tried that out, I really recommend it. It's awesome. I think it's like between $30 and $50 depending on sometimes they have a sale, or how much time you sign up for 6 months of unlimited access. And those you can watch on your iPad or your iPhone. So I used to watch them while I did the treadmill, and it was totally awesome. Which is I didn't really like to watch her videos while I was scrapbooking, because you really did need to watch them. Anyways, dun, dun, dun. Okay, and I did a blog post on Kiss and Tell Scrapbooking about my favorite places to find scrapbooking classes and tutorials online. And so it looks like this. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but some places to get online scrapbooking classes that I recommend and that I use are Get It Scrapped, Masterful Scrapbook Design. Both of those are run by Debbie Hodge. Also, I love Big Picture classes, and that's run by Stacy Julian. Then Noelle Hyman has the Paperclipping Roundtable podcast, and I could probably show you what it looks like. And then she also has her Paperclipping membership, and the Roundtable is the free, and then the Paperclipping is the paid for. And you can see some of her Paperclipping paid for segments on YouTube, so you can kind of check them out before you would decide if you wanted to buy those. And you really should. And with any of these, with Masterful Scrapbook Design and Big Picture and Paperclipping, and even Shamel, you can find their content that you would like. They've got free content, and that's one thing, but then they've also got samples of this. We're going to offer you this for free, so you can get a flavor of what the paid for content looks like. So the free content is different than the paid for content, and in the paid for content you'll find it's a lot denser and better, better produced and everything else. So it's good to get a sample of those before you decide where you want to take a class. I don't want to burp, but I'm going to burp. Another place is the Digi Show podcast, and I'm not a digital scrapbooker, but I listen to that and I really do learn a lot from that. That's a free podcast. And then there is a Digi, the Daily Digi, which is a paid for site, and I'm not a digital scrapbooker, so I haven't used that. 2 Peas in a Bucket is another place you can find online classes, and those are mostly free with some paid, and I've taken them there. And I love Glitter Girl and also Lisa Dickinson in Seeing Double. Those are my favorite. There's also a blog called the Counterfeit Kit Challenge blog, which is a free blog. And I really think of that as a class because you can make it, shows you how to make a kit and then what to do with it. But in the meantime, it also shows you, like, if you aren't going to go out and buy the latest and greatest, how you can use your old stuff to make it look like the new stuff. And I think that's awesome and thrifty, and I love it. And also YouTube is a great place to find scrapbooking tutorials. And I actually did a post on my blog today about, you know, with YouTube, if you type in scrapbooking, you're going to find like awesome videos and mediocre videos like I make. And then you're going to find like exceptionally crappy videos. So I listed 10 of my favorite YouTube scrapbooking videos. All of those are free. And they were from like the likes of Simple Scrapbooks and Stacy Julian and Shamel and Paperclipping and all that sort of thing. But it was just like, here's my 10 favorites, and then if you go to any of those, if you like them, then like more like them will come up in the side. I also linked up some of my mediocre videos. And mine are, admittedly, yes, they are. And then the last place for online classes would be my craft channel. And they have the way that it's not paid for, it's free. But the way that those shows get paid for is like the person doing the class pays to have the show made. It's through Northridge Publishing. But you can find classes from Heidi Swap and Stacy Julian and Teresa Collins and Amy Kuhn, who used to do a podcast that was really awesome, and I wish you would like start doing that again, Amy Kuhn, because it was totally awesome and I miss it. It was called The Paper Girl or The Paper Life or something like that. That was a show where she would just interview one scrapbooker for like an hour and a half. It was really, really, I really enjoyed it, and I really miss it, and I really think you should do it again, Miss Amy Kuhn. Somebody that is doing that, or was doing it for a little while, was Debbie Hodge was doing This Memory Keeper's Life. And I think it's kind of fallen off of her to-do list. Hold on. I'm going to take a little sip. I've been talking now for, a couple of hours. So I just need a little, hold on. I promise I'll keep being interesting. Try to. Yeah, I was really trying to be so careful about swallowing, because the microphone, like the little thing is right there, and I kind of felt like they could hear every single thing, and I'm like, I hope I'm not being a heavy breather. Hope they can't hear every single time I if you swallow. Okay, back to my list. So there's also on my blog, Kiss and Tell Scrapbooking, I've put a list that looks like this, but I know you can't read that. But it's 10 classes that I recommend online, but that I don't use, or I don't currently use anyways. And so Jessica Sprague and Renee Pearson have classes that teach you how to digital scrapbook. And I know people that have taken them who've said that's how they learned, and that it was completely awesome. I did get to meet Renee Pearson at Donna Downey's Inspired event, and let me just say, Renee Pearson is like the sweetest lady. She's so nice. And I don't know why specifically I think that. It's just, some people have that aura, like an aura of just, I don't know. Like you just instantly like them, and they can just be like just standing there not trying too hard, but she just had this relaxed, comfortable, friendly, she was so sweet. And she was like, she actually introduced, she's like, come on, I'll go introduce you to my friend Wendy Smedley. And I was like, oh. But that was, so that's how I met Wendy Smedley. Let's see where I was. And then there's Elaine Amon, who does True Scrap, which is coming up, I believe. And the Load Challenge, which if you've never done the Load Challenge, I recommend it. It's where you do one page every day for a month, and then you upload them to, when I did it, it was a Flickr account. I don't know if it still is. And then you really get to know everybody else in your class. And the thing that's nice about that is, like, if you're not like the super trendiest scrapbooker, or the latest and greatest product. Like, you can upload your layout to, say, 2Ps, which I really like 2Ps. I think there's a lot of good stuff there. But you can upload your, and I see a lot of people upload their layouts there, but you don't really get a lot of feedback unless you're the latest and greatest and the trendiest thing going. And that's really not my goal in scrapbooking. It's fun, but it's not the main driving force behind what I'm doing. But with Layout a Day, the people in the class, so if you want feedback and you're an extrovert, like, you know, you just need other people to say what they think about what you've done. And not, I think some people just really, and I'm one of them, is I really like to get feedback. I like to know, like, I like to do my own thing and be introverted while I'm creating, but then I want to, like, show what I've done. and have people say, like, I like that, or I don't really like that thing you have going on over there, or I think you could do this better in this way. I like that feedback, and I like giving that feedback. You know, I don't do enough of it, but I try to do it. And I try to do it even at 2Ps, is to get on and, like, make some comments sometimes. But the load challenge is a really great place if you like to receive and give feedback. That's a great place to do that. Donna Downey, I think she has online classes, but I'm not sure. She might just have in-person classes, but I did follow her when she was at Simple Scrapbooks, and then I did go to her Inspired event, and I really like all the artsy things that are going on now. I don't really follow her anymore, but it's mainly just because I don't think she does a lot of scrapbooking anymore. I think she's gotten more into art, which is great. And but I really, like, I'm focusing on scrapbooking. So there's also creative passion classes, which was, and I don't really understand the whole dynamic of it, but, like, Get It Scrapped used to be what, and Get It Scrapped is a blog with free ideas, and that's the creative team that I'm on, and it has traditional and digital scrapbooking. But I think that Get It Scrapped used to offer classes like Big Picture does, and then I think they stopped doing that, and they just do Masterful Scrapbook Design, which is like an ebook and a class put together with videos and actual interaction between the teachers and the students, like, for the whole time. It's really, really cool. It's different than anything else out there, I think. But creative passion classes is, I think, like, if you want to learn how to use your Cricut, or you want to learn how to use Copic markers, something like that, that's a place to go learn techniques. Another place to learn techniques is at Ranger U, and they've got a lot of, and I think there's like, you can go to Ranger U in real life, but there's also, if you're interested in learning techniques, you can go to Ranger U, the internet website, and there's free technique videos there. So that's a free one. Ustream, obviously, is another place you can look at videos, and again, it's almost like YouTube. You know, there's varying degrees of quality, and there's also varying degrees of what people are doing. Like, I've seen some where it seems like they're really selling something, and others that are just, like, hyper into techniques. And so you just have to figure out which ones you like and which ones you don't like. Creating Keepsakes has a site, and I think that they offer classes through their site. I will say I haven't been there in a long time, but I used to go a lot. I've just found that their website seems a little hard to navigate for me. So after, like I try, and then I give up. And then a couple months later I'll go back and try it again, and I've just done that enough times where each time I go back it still seems kind of hard to navigate. So they've really fallen off my radar, but there's a lot of content there. So if you don't have a hard time like I do with navigating through their site, there's so much information, all the articles and Simple Scrapbooks and Creating Keepsakes over the years, which those articles are still relevant. You can find them there. And then the last recommendation I had was Allie Edwards' site, and she's just allieedwards.com, and she's got a lot of free content in, like, she does December Daily, and a week in the life and project life and one literal word and all these different scrapbooking projects. She also does some classes like traveling, scrapbook traveling and stuff like that that you can pay for, but most of her content, as far as I can see, is free. So that's another good place to go check out. I can't believe how much stuff I've written up, and I know I'm just reading it, but yeah. Anyways, so in-person classes, like I said, I used to teach a class called Scrap Your Scraps at my local scrapbook store, and I used to teach how to make 6 layouts in 2 hours with your old scrapbook scraps. And what we would do is everybody would bring it, like all the students would bring in all of their scraps, or I'd also have them bring in 6 sheets of paper they just don't like anymore. And so everybody would bring it, and then we would pile it into the middle of the room, and then I would have like 6 sketches, and then everybody would make the pages. And so you could finish them, but you didn't have to. So I would make what I called, hold on, a half-baked page, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. So, and I think Chanel does a similar thing, and she calls them starting points. This is kind of like that. So that's a really that's less stuff than we would do in my my class. But basically, I would just get something started, and so I call these half-baked pages because they're like twice-baked potatoes. I work on them 2 times. But most of the time I would have, what we would do is like pick out the background paper and then pick out like the pattern paper or the embellishments or the techniques that we were going to put on top of the base paper, and then we would stop. And so this is kind of what I consider, like this is just a photo collage, but it's in paper. So this will then someday go, like this is a half-baked page. It's not the background page. It's something that's going to go onto a background page. This is a half-baked page where I've done just like some color blocking, same bit here. And so then this is another like photo collage that needs this needs a background to live on. And then so I would like typically not do the like sometimes I do the photos, sometimes I don't. So some of these pages have, like this one had, this is really what I consider a half-baked page. It's got the photos and some patterned paper on it. What it needs is a title, journaling, and embellishments. So that's what I consider a half-baked page. There's another half-baked page. So I would we would do, here's another one. Yeah, in my opinion, this little folder has gotten too thick. This is another one, and this is more like a starting point, but it's just like I just put a bunch of stuff down, and then I'll put pictures and the rest of it down later. And but sometimes, like, this is a half-baked page that is mostly pattern paper. This is a half-baked page on actual, and you can't really see, but because the quality of this video isn't very good, but this is on a ledger piece of pattern paper. So this has the photos and the background paper. So I have different, you know, not all of my half-baked pages look the same, but what's in common about them is they're all started and they need to be finished. And so I do these when I'm feeling like I don't have any creative mojo, or I just don't think I can finish a page today. I just start these, and then when I am having more creative mojo, then I'll go in and finish them. But it's not like, usually when I do my scrapbooking, I'll do a page from start to finish. But occasionally I'll do these. And it's nice to have these on hand for those times that you are feeling a little bit stuck. And it's also fun when maybe you're just really in love with some paper and you really just want to put a whole load of, like, there's a good, like, compare and contrast. Like, some of them don't have a whole lot on them. Some of them have, like, a lot of stuff on there. So that was my class, Scrap Your Scraps, would really be like that whole idea of, like, let's get it, like, pretty much started. So then you just need to embellish, title, and journal. And then you do that in a separate setting. Separate sitting. Okay. Okay, and I mentioned that I did go, okay, so I mentioned I did go to the Inspired event up in North Carolina, and I don't usually go to in-person scrapbooking teaching events, although I really should, because I'm on the Whimsidoodle design team. I get discounted stuff there, and they have awesome people coming through all the time, like scrapbookers you would recognize, like Dina Wakely and Diane Reevely and Tim Holtz and Margie Romney Aslett and Susie Plantamura something and all these, like, scrapbookers that you know, if you follow online scrapbooking, you would recognize. But it's hard for me to get out on the weekends. It's hard for me to get out on the weekend nights because I'm busy. So I love in-person classes, but for my busy life, it's nice to be able to do the classes online. And so I usually will do online classes. One thing, I did go back and listen to Donna Downey's Paperclipping Roundtable episode number 2. And she was saying that she kind of thinks of when she goes out and teaches classes as, like, you know, like you put out your album. So she puts out her book, and then like a band would go on tour. So she goes on, like, a scrapbooking teaching tour. And she was saying that she doesn't really think that anyone could make any real connections, you know, except for in real life. And then Nancy Nally chimed in and said, oh, I think you're totally right. I think there was a time when you could make connections with people online, and now that it's so saturated, you really can't because everybody's there. And I don't think that's true. I think you can make real meaningful connections with people online, people that you may never meet, but that you have things in common with. I think that's totally possible, and it's still possible, and I think it happens all the time. It happens for me all the time. And then I also wrote this down, like computer dating. There's some people who you will really click with online, but that you may not really click with in real life. So, like, sometimes the online class might be a little better option. And that's the same with, like, computer dating, is like you might, like, hey, and I was, you know, I did all my dating before the internet. But I've heard stories from friends and my mother that, you know, you meet someone online and you have this great connection with them, but then you meet them in real life and you're like, oh, no, 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 no. So it's the same with scrapbookers, I think, or scrapbooking classes. Other podcasts I love. I also recommend the Digi Show. Yeah, that's a show about digital scrapbooking, but you can listen even if you're a paper scrapbooker like me, because they really talk about scrapbooking in general and general concepts. They do go into quite technical things, and really I just kind of, you know, like when somebody's talking and you're just not really listening. Like if you're, hello viewers, I don't have my chat enabled, but I hope you're listening and crafting at the same time. So you can be like coming in and out of tuning me in or out. That's how I envision this. And that's what I like to listen to. I just like to hear somebody talking away. And then, like I mentioned, Amy Kuhn used to have a show called The Paper Life, which was really awesome. Other podcasts that I listen to that aren't necessarily related to scrapbooking are, number one, The Nerdist. And some of the Nerdist episodes are very, like, raunchy. Like, they say things that I'm like I feel like their mother, like, really? You're really going to say that? Just, not just swearing, but, like, raunchy swearing. But then there's other episodes, so if you can tolerate that, which I most of the time can, and am not usually offended by, but a couple of things I've just thought, like, that was totally unnecessary. anyways, there's two. If you're interested in the Nerdist and you haven't listened yet, there's two that I absolutely recommend listening to first. And one is with Henry Rollins, who is like he does a lot of different things, but I just think he's awesome. And I'm not even really a fan, like I've heard of him when I was in high school and college. I had a boyfriend who really liked punk rock. And so I got that whole like Iggy Pop and the Ramones and the Red Hot Chili Peppers and the Clash, and like I actually met all those people in real life because he taught me how to pretend to be a news reporter. So I wasn't a groupie, I was like a press got in with a press pass, but I met all these different people, so I know punk rock a little bit. But so Henry Rollins is like this punk rock guy, but he's also just, he does a lot of other things too. He's a very like Renaissance man. He's amazing. Hold on, I'm going to tell you how to... I think that's his name, Henry Rollins. I want to say he was in Black Flag, but I could be wrong. It's been a while since my punk rock days. Henry Rollins on the Nerdist. But he talks so much in this one particular episode just about how, like, living life and seeing the world and being creative and producing things, that I really think that it can be applied to if you just kind of like, yeah, I can't find it. But look at Henry Rollins on the Nerdist, and then also look at, I don't know what her name is, but she's a young actress and she's from Maine and she's super cute, and I think she might have been in those vampire movies, Twilight, and her name might be Anna something. Whatever hers is really awesome too. I'll put some links up on my blog, Kiss and Tell Scrapbooking. I also listened to This American Life with Ira Glass, and he's a really amazing storyteller. And so each week they have a theme, and this week was coincidences. So I like to, I like to think that I'll do this someday. I haven't done it yet. But I'd love to like take each week, like this week the theme was coincidences, and like use that as a scrapbooking challenge. He has like he tells like 3 or 4 different stories about on a similar concept, like coincidences or regret, or I don't know, like stuff that you did wrong but you got out of it, or he'll have like some weird little topic, or pets, or like the crazy things you do for your pets. And so I always thought it would be fun to make like a this American Life page each week. I think that would be fun. I haven't done it yet, but I've been thinking about it. Also, Todd Henry has a podcast called The Accidental Creative, which is a really great podcast about being creative on a regular basis. And then, of course, there is The Foolish Adventure, which Izzy Hyman, Noelle Hyman's husband, started with another guy named Tim Conley. And Izzy got out of it, but Tim Conley's still doing it. And I used to listen every single week when Izzy was on. And then after he left, I listen maybe once a month, but I'll listen, I don't know. No offense, Tim, but I really miss Izzy being on the show. But it's still good because he's got different guests, and he really gives a lot of great information if you are doing anything online, especially trying to have a business, which I'm not necessarily doing online, but just different things or to think about, or what to put up on your blog, or how to make your blog or your web business better. So some of the topics I think are interesting and some I don't. So it's a take it or leave it kind of thing. Okay, the next little item on my really long list of things I was going to talk about with the Paperclipping Roundtable about online scrapbooking classes, because this is basically like everything I wanted to say, or everything I wrote down in my notes but didn't get to say on the show. This is the after show. Is that I went to Eckerd College, where they preach being a lifetime learner. And I really think that no matter what stage you are in your life, you should continue to learn. And I think that definitely applies to scrapbooking. And so that's why I think if you want to keep scrapbooking, you should take classes. So I think that I have all of the skills that I need to scrapbook. I don't need to take a class to tell me what to do to make a scrapbook page, or an album, or a theme book, or any of that stuff. I pretty much know what I need to know. But just like with exercise, like, it's nice to be reminded. And it's also nice to look at the same things in a different perspective. So that's what I really get out of scrapbooking classes. It's not necessarily that I'm learning anything earth-shattering that I don't already know. Like, I pretty much know how to scrapbook. But I like taking classes because it exposes me to different types, different ways of looking at the same thing. And I also like to take classes that aren't in scrapbooking, so in other areas, and then I like to, like yoga or improvisational comedy, and then I like to take those concepts and then apply it back to my hobby. So I think that taking scrapbooking classes online is awesome, but I think you should also take other classes in other areas. Okay, so on the Paperclipping Roundtable, episode number 119, titled Imagine, was on the book by Jonah Lehrer called Imagine. It's a book about creativity. Anyways, since that came out, it was discovered that Jonah Lehrer, as brilliant as he is, made kind of a really dumb move and made some stuff up in the book. So not every single quote is correct. He didn't do his fact checking like he should have, and he probably told some tall tales. But the main message of what he was saying is still really dead on. And so really, I think, like, if you're interested in learning or continuing to learn or continuing to be creative, go listen to the Paperclipping Roundtable episode number 119 titled Imagine, and just, don't hold the fact checking against him. Like, still get the goodness of the content. Dun, 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 dun. He was saying things like, the way that you really become creative is when you mix old stuff with new stuff. So it's like that make new friends and keep the old thing. It with classes is like, take some classes that you like, the tried and true. Like for me, that would be a Stacy Julian class. I know that if I take a Stacy Julian class, I'm going to love it every single time. Every time I'll love it, no matter what she talks about. But I also think that if I only took Stacy Julian classes, then I would, even though she's like super interesting and dynamic and coming up with new ideas all the time, I would never, like, at some point, like, even though that would be totally awesome, I would never get any other perspectives. And I think it's important to mix up who you're taking classes from and where you're taking them and what types of classes they are. So don't take the same kind of thing every single time. Like, it's, on the one hand, it's nice to go with, I know this is going to be a good one and I know my money is going to be well spent, but occasionally take some chances. Like, I'm not so sure about this one, but it looks kind of interesting, so I'm going to give it a try. Like, do that sometimes. I also like the Garden Girl videos. Those are over at 2Ps, and those are mostly free. And then in this past year, because I've been on the creative team for Get It Scrapped, I've gotten the benefit of that is I get a membership to Masterful Scrapbook Design, and it's awesome. It's awesome, and it's like one of those things, I think, that you've probably heard about it, but if you like, I don't think it's as well known as it really should be. And I think people know about it maybe, but they just don't, like, at least for me, I didn't have some burning desire to, like, sign up right now. Because, like, Debbie Hodge isn't that kind of a high pressure, like, she's not a hype. She's more of a, like, steady, really good quality stuff. And so the teachers that she selects are really great quality, down-to-earth scrapbookers that you will love. And the content that they put out is amazing. It's like so dense that you could really, like, I have to, like, sometimes I do a deep dive and sometimes I just try to stay on the surface, but there's a lot there. And so she does, it used to be a monthly thing. Now I think she's made it into 2 months, so there can be more interaction. So there's this humongous book, like an ebook that you get, that you can download, or if you don't want to download it, you can just look at it on the computer. It's like 130, 160 pages long, I want to say, and then she does like probably 6 or 7 to 10 interviews with the different teachers that have contributed to the book. And then she also has like office hours where you can get on, you can upload your scrapbook page and say, hey teacher, will you take a look at this? And they'll actually like do a constructive creative critique of your work, and it's really, really cool. So you should, yeah, and she has some free videos on YouTube that you can watch that you get a flavor for what that's like. Let's see. Okay, I got that page done. I need like 27 more pages to go. Not that many. A few more. Okay, so one thing I think that really works in scrapbooking for productivity and other areas of life is the concept of batching and tackling things. So like do like things together, like store like items together. Like it makes sense if you're you know, preparing food. I like to batch and tackle when I prepare food. So I go to the grocery store, I buy a bunch of stuff, and then I do most of my food preparation on Sunday. So then for the rest of the week, all I have to do is a little bit. So if there's vegetables to cut, you know, I don't plan out every single meal that we're having, but I'll, you know, basically if we're going to be having chicken that week or whatever it is, like I'll get everything ready. And when I do that, I'm much more productive than when I don't do that. But I don't think you should apply that to classes. So I think that it's better to take fewer classes at a time and just totally immerse yourself in the classes that you're taking. And so I would say take 1 or 2 or at the most 3 at a time. And even though you have that forever access with a lot of the online classes for scrapbooking, I really think the better benefit is to go through it at that time and to really dive in, like get it all in there. And then I think that might also have to do with introverts and extroverts. So as an extrovert, I really like a class that's going on at that time, so that when I'm on the message boards, like other people are doing the same thing at the same time. I like that interaction. I love to talk to people in the message boards, and I love to like form those relationships. Whereas if you were more of an introvert, you might like the classes that you can have that are more self-paced. So you can download them anytime, which is, you know, you don't have to wait for class to begin, which is with some of the workshops, you need to like wait for a time that's going to be open, whereas some other classes are you can take it anytime. But the downside of those, I think, is that you don't get as much interaction. But if you're an introvert, you might enjoy less interaction. Let's see. And then if you just keep consuming information and not applying it, I don't think that's useful. So you can't be learning all the time. You need to be applying what you learned. So learn something, do something. Like you will never learn from just reading a book. Like you can't learn to be a golfer by reading a book. You have to like know what golfing is about from the book, and then you actually have to go do it. So you can't learn scrapbooking just by taking scrapbooking classes. You have to like take what you learn and make scrapbook pages. So you have to apply what you learn. And sometimes you need to take a break. So I really like to look at scrapbooking kind of as like semesters. So and I don't have like I don't schedule that out. It really goes with like how I'm feeling. And so like sometimes I'll be in active learning mode, other times I'll be in active production mode, and then other times it's summer vacation. And it doesn't necessarily happen in the summer, but there's times that I'll take completely off from scrapbooking and scrapbooking classes. But if I go too long, then that's not a good thing too. So then, you know, September has to come, even if it's not like in the calendar year September. You need to like get back to learning at some point. Hold on. Hello? Oh, there's nobody here except me. Yeah. I have dinner for them though. No, but no. But I'll tell them you have it if they want to go get it when they get home. Oh, okay. Well, okay, I will. Thanks. Bye. That was my mother-in-law. She lives next door, and so she wanted to know if she wanted me to have her make dinner for us. She's really sweet and helpful, and she's a planner, and I'm not as much of a planner as she is. So, like, what's for dinner tonight? Like I said, I've already prepared. I've prepared on Sunday, so I know I have things I can make for dinner. But even though it's 5:25 and my family will be home soon, I don't know what I'm serving for dinner yet. Like, I will figure out what they want and then look at what I have and then prepare it. But any of the options that I'm going to prepare have already kind of been prepared already. So it's like those half-baked pages. It's like most of the work's already been done. So it's just like, well, I could feed you this, this, or this. Which one do you want? Or maybe they come home and they are like, we went out to dinner and didn't tell you. Fine, that's cool. Then I don't have to do anything. But my mother-in-law will have dinner planned out, like, you know, she knows what she's having. When she's having it. So she's a hyper planner in that regard. Anyways, sorry about the interruption. But that proves illustrates a good point. Everybody's different. Let's see. Take a break. Okay, so when you're taking an online scrapbooking class, one of the things that I think is really awesome is that if you're somebody that can't get anything done because they're like consider themselves to be a perfectionist, then when you go into a class and become a student, some of those perfectionist tendencies go away. So it really gets you into a different mindset. Also, when you take online classes, you make friends. So and the friends that you make will be all over the world. So you will find that if you ever travel, like, you will feel great because you know that if if something bad happened when you were on a ski trip in Colorado, like, chances are you know some scrapbookers out there. Or my family is going to be going on a Caribbean cruise soon, and one of my scrapbooking friends lives in the Bahamas, and we're gonna meet up. So the friends that you meet online, you can actually translate those into, like, when you travel, meeting people in real life. And then the other cool thing about your scrapbooking friends is they're going to be, like, usually when you have friends in real life, they're similar to you. They're similar, like, age, demographic, where you live. You know, you have things in common that are real, or in real life. Anyways, but your scrapbooking friends, like, I have scrapbooking friends from Norway, from New Zealand, from Australia, from the Bahamas, from all over Utah. It's amazing. In Alaska, I have a scrapbooking friend in Alaska, Jennifer, and I have a scrapbooking friend in New Brunswick, Canada, she actually lives where my family came to America. Part of my family came to America in like 1836 or something like that. And so my family goes way back in her town, and I'm like, well, do you have this last name, and this last name? And she's like, oh yeah. So, like, she already knows all my cousins. Anyways, so you can learn a lot. And then you can also use your classes or the videos that you see or the podcasts that you listen to as a jumping off place. So if you hear somebody on the Paperclipping Roundtable say, then go visit their blog, and, like, what they talked about on the show it's just like me, like, I have all this stuff to say, but I didn't necessarily say it on the show because there's just this limited amount of time. The same for classes. And so you can really, like, just go explore, use those as jumping off points to go see blogs and different inspiration places. Where can you find me on the internet? You can find me at Get It Scrapped. You can find me at Kiss and Tell Scrapbooking. Sometimes I make YouTube and Ustream videos that are very amateurish and not always awesome. And they really, like, I do different things in my videos. Sometimes I'm showing projects, sometimes I'm making projects, and sometimes, like this one, I'm just talking. Sometimes, and rarely, am I just talking with notes. Usually I just start talking. But this time I did organize some thoughts beforehand. I also participate just about every week in Glitter Girl and Seeing Double with Lisa Dickinson at 2Ps. So I'll usually contribute a project to that. Like there's, you know, they'll have a video and then there'll be a place where you can upload your layout to that, and then you can see everybody who submitted a layout. I do that. Okay, I've just found more notes, so that was the conclusion, but this is the middle. So, where to hoard and where to spend your money in scrapbooking. So I'm as guilty as anyone else of having way too many scrapbooking supplies. I just made a layout recently called 10 feet of paper, because the 2Ps were talking about that. Like, how much paper do you have? Do you think you're ever going to use it? Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I have a lot of paper. And so I made this page basically of like the little strips, you know, like this part of the paper. This little part, the bottom. And some companies have cuter stuff down there than others. Cosmo Cricket had especially cute stuff. This is a Cosmo Cricket piece. And so it's like, Mr. Campy, go jump in a lake, want some more? Like, they just have funny little, they say funny stuff at the bottom. So I cut up a bunch of those and then I paper weaved them and called that layout 10 feet of paper. Okay, so I really shouldn't buy any more paper. I still do, but I shouldn't. But I think you should, because you should get rid of the old and bring in new. And if you stop that process, then you kind of get stumped. But I'm not attached to my stuff because I live in Florida. And every single year we have hurricane season. And every single year I could have the possibility of my whole house and everything in it blow away. And so stuff isn't really where you should hoard. Where you should hoard is learning and creativity and thinking and new ideas. And so it's almost like that. I think it was Donald Trump, you know. My husband reads Donald Trump books about, you know, how to be a businessman. But one of them is like, in one of the things it says, and I think I'm not a huge fan of Donald Trump, but I take him for what he is. One of the things that he says, you could take every single thing I have away from me. Like, you could take all my stuff away, and I could still, like, I'll still be a millionaire. And so it's the same with scrapbooking. Like, you could take all of my scrapbooking stuff away, but I would still be a scrapbooker. And so I just think, like, the place to hoard and the place to spend your money in scrapbooking is learning and really developing your creativity and your skills. And really, like, mix up the types of classes that you take. So if you've just taken a photography class, maybe the next one shouldn't be another photography class. Maybe it should be writing, or maybe it should be techniques. And not that you won't take like 2.0 of the photography class, but maybe like have a little time in between where you let the concepts that you learn like set in, because I really think like the passage of time makes you think about things differently. So I like to let stuff kind of gel for a while. Plus, classes take up less space and will mean less clutter you have to clean up and organize. Okay, so I also think you should take classes in different areas. Like, I've taken Bikram yoga and improvisational comedy, and I know I'm not particularly funny. That's fine. And I'm planning on taking a sailing class soon. And the reason I say this is that when you're learning something new and different, your brain gets to a place where it just gets to have a better problem-solving ability and creative ability than when you're not learning something new. So you just go learn something new, anything, it doesn't really matter what it is. Like, learn to speak Russian or polka dance or whatever. But you need to go learn something that you've never done before to get to that brain place where your brain starts getting really creative. And when I take other classes like that, I find that my scrapbooking goes through a creativity surge. And when I took an improvisational comedy class not this summer, but last summer, I went through a crazy, like, creative surge where I just was making layouts like you wouldn't believe. And there's a lot about what I call improv scrapbooking on my blog, Kiss and Tell Scrapbooking. And so it's not about, like, trying to be funny or trying to do scrapbooking like an improvisational like a stand-up comedy thing. It's more about taking the concepts of what makes improv work and applying that to scrapbooking, like being in the moment and listening and making your partner look good. There's different things about improv comedy, like different rules that you learn to learn how to be funny, that if you just like inserted the word scrapbooking, like it's cool. It's and you can do that with other areas of your life too. Done. Let's see. I'm talking and talking. I'm almost done. I keep saying that. I really think I am almost done. Okay, so what about when you've lost your mojo? And everybody goes through this. I go through this. There's an ebb and flow to creativity. I think that's normal, and I like to take breaks from scrapbooking and from taking scrapbooking classes. Let's see. Okay, sometimes those breaks feel like the end, and that's when you need to do something to jumpstart your creativity. So that's when you need to take another class, unless you really want to quit, which I don't. And I don't think most scrapbookers do want to quit. I'm just going to read now because I'm just going to read so I get through it. I know people like that, and they always seem very sad about stopping scrapbooking. So I know people who like did the creative memories thing, and now they don't scrapbook at all. And if you ask them about it, they barely want to talk about it because they're sad that they stopped and whatever. And they seem very sad about stopping. Like they gave up to the excuses of I don't have enough time, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough creativity or whatever. And I don't like to feel like I'm in that failure mode. Like if I ever wanted to stop scrapbooking because I wanted to stop scrapbooking, cool. But if I wanted to stop because I felt like I couldn't sustain it, then that feels like a failure. So I don't want to be in that place. So to not be in that place, you need to keep learning. And I need to keep learning. I want to be a scrapbooker for the rest of my life, and I know that it will change over time, just like I change over time. But that's the point, right? I like to look at my old pages because they show me where I was, and one of my biggest regrets, like when I first got into scrapbooking in the modern sense, they said, oh no, you can't have your magnetic albums. You know, you need to take all your pictures out of those because they're going to eat the pictures, la la la. And so I did that, and I took apart the scrapbook that I made in a magnetic album of my semester in Greece, and I still regret doing that. So don't pull apart your old pages, even if you think they're ugly. Just don't do it. Don't. I asked, so here's a new subject, same subject but different page. So I asked the girls on the Get It Scrap team about their experiences on online classes, and Debbie Hodge said that she loves self-paced classes because she wants them when she wants them, and that's now. And she likes sites that keep everything, like everything she's taken in a list, like Big Picture classes and Creative Passion classes does that. Marie-Pierre Capistrand, who's up in Canada, said she likes to take one class at a time, and to make the money worth it, and that she's active on the message boards, and the interaction actually with the other students helps her to continue through with the class. Barb said that she likes to take lots and lots of classes, and that she's also on creative teams, and she does both of us. She does all of it, and if she doesn't mind if she falls behind in the classes because of the forever access that most online scrapbooking classes have. So if you're thinking about an online scrapbooking class, like check out to see like how long they're going to let you look at it, and you want one that will let you look at it for a long time in case you fall behind. She says and sometimes she buys the class again after they expire. So there's some things that only last for a certain amount of time, and then you have to like get it again. She says she does that. She said her favorite teacher is Kim Clausen, and I actually don't know who that is, so I'm going to follow my curiosity and find out who that is. And she says she saves her classes by creating folders and then hoping for the best. Me too, sister. Another person said that they take a few classes at a time because they're on teams and they're doing the Debbie Hodges guided study. And this person, I didn't write her name down, said her favorite teacher was Jana Morton, and you can find her at Masterful Scrapbook Design, and she also uses a Word doc to keep her passwords. And almost done. Okay, so then before the show started, Noelle and Izzy sent an email out with questions, and they said, how many classes can you manage at once and still benefit enough from them to make it worth the money? And I just had jotted some notes down, so I'm just going to read it verbatim. So I'm almost finished talking. My mouth is dry. I say I limit mine to 1 or 2 at a time. I've tried to take 3 or 4 at a time, but I found it was too many things to juggle. I once heard a scrapbooker, and I think it was Doris Sander, say that there's a magic number for how many design teams or projects you should do at once, and the magic number is 3. Here's a magic number. So right now I have the 2 teams. I have my Scrapbook Shop, Whimsidoodle, and Get It Scrapped, and so then I just have 1 class going at any time at this point in my scrapbooking. When there's so many different classes around the web being offered at the same time, what dictates your class choice? And my answer was teacher, teacher, teacher. I'll take almost anything by Stacy Julian, but I also like to try new and different people for different perspectives, like the Paperclipping membership, and how Noelle has a different spin on everything, and so do the people over at Get It Scrapped. So I like to mix up the tried and true with the new. So I will try new teachers, but usually I'm going to go for teachers that I know or I've seen or I'm a fan of already. Another question. How do you manage your class intake so you can keep up and don't lose the benefits of the class? I wrote, sometimes I'll print out all the handouts and keep them in a notebook or a clipboard, and other times I give myself a deadline. And in that class that I just took with Debbie Hodge, the critique class, there were hard deadlines. Like you had to get your thing in by Wednesday at a certain time, because on Thursday night we all got onto the internet together, and that's when we were going to talk in real time about the class. So that one made it really easy to get it finished, because there was deadlines are good things. It's nice to have it is a good thing to have a deadline, because that makes you get something done. And then another question is, when there is so much being offered at once, how do you choose? What makes an online class worth taking for you? And my answer was, it really depends on if I feel like I need a creative jolt, and online classes do that for me. I like to have periods of time when I'm taking them, and also periods of time when I'm not. So to make it worth it, I look for either the teacher or something I want to learn, like maybe something I already don't know, like photography class or a technique type of a class. And don't even get me started on digital. I've tried. I've really tried. I've tried. Yeah. I need somebody showing me, like, in person, here's what you do, and this is exactly what you do. I haven't had a good experience with learning how to do digital online. But other people I know have. So everybody's different. How do you keep track of class locations, passwords, and class content? My answer was Big Picture and Masterful Scrapbook Design does it for me. And when I used to get the Ella ebooks, we would put them in Dropbox. And then the class that I did take with Shamel through 2Ps, I can look at my order history, but I can't get back into the class, and I don't know if that means there's not forever access or if I just don't know how to get into the class. But I haven't taken the time to find out, because I remember what I learned in the class and I don't have the need to go back. It was awesome. I took Here, There, and Everywhere. It was about scrapbooking places, and I made some albums and some pages. And I remember a lot of what, like, I don't have the handouts, but I really do remember stuff that I learned in that class, and so, groovy. I think I said most of that. And that. Let's see. I think I'm done. That's pretty much it. So now I need to drink some water and feed my family. Maybe what my mother-in-law made, or maybe something on the fly, some improvised dinner. say a couple more things. The other people on the Paperclipping Roundtable with me were Karen Grunberg, who is like a very, very, very productive scrapbooker in person. And she has a list on her blog right now about 31 things you can do for yourself like every day, because she schedules absolutely everything, which is awesome. I go through phases of trying to do that, and then I feel I'm a rebel, so I even like to rebel against, if I write it down on a list, I might rebel against myself. I don't know if I can do that much structure, but she, you know, a lot of times scrapbookers will make lists of like, here's 30 photos to take while you're on vacation, or here's like a photo a day for 365 days. We're going to tell you what to take a picture of. Like, take a picture of your what you're drinking, take a picture of your shoes, blah. So that's great. But she translated that into like 31 things, nice things to do for yourself, like get a manicure, take a bath, have your hair done. And so I thought that was a great, I like that. I like that list. I'm going to be printing out that list and doing some of those things. And then the other person on the show with me was Ruth. I want to say Bonzer, but I don't know if I'm getting that right. Hold on. Yes, Bonzer. And she, Ruth, is so adorable. We love her. She's a frequent commenter on the Paperclipping Roundtable, but she's just like, she's just delightful. She really is. And she also has an awesome accent because she lives in Australia. So I love people from Australia and New Zealand. Someday I want to go there. Someday. But she hadn't had a blog, and now she does have a blog. And her blog, I wrote it down, is like the yellow scrapbooking machine, or the yellow submarine scrapbooking machine. I'm getting it wrong, but I'll put a link up on my blog, and also there will be a link on the Paperclipping Roundtable in the notes. If you look on their site, just go to paperclipping.com and then go to the Roundtable, and then they'll have a place with like links to all of the picks of the week and all the guests, so you can find her there. But she's so sweet. I like her a lot. In the episode she was on before, she was talking about, she has a child with special needs, and I think she said it was autism, but I can't remember. It might not have been. And I have a child who has ADHD, and at different times, you know, that's a manageable. It's manageable, and other times it's not. So we go through, like, sometimes we're good with it and sometimes we're not. And she was saying that, like, one of the things she said in that previous episode was, like, there's four of my, you know, she's talking to somebody and they said, there's 4 people in your family, and every person needs to get what they need. And not just the one with the special needs, but, like, everybody has needs. And so that list that Karen made, and then Ruth and her, or, is that her name, Ruth? Is that what I said? Yes, Ruth. She just has a positive vibe that I really like, and she reminds me a lot of Peter Walsh, who he used to have a show on TV called Clean Sweep, with the very hottest assistant ever, Eric Stromer. Oh my God, he was like the handyman. That was like, I don't know. I don't usually have crushes, but Eric Stromer was one really nice looking man. I don't know where he went, because he's not on TV anymore, but I certainly enjoyed that show, both for Eric Stromer and for Peter Walsh, who had like all sorts of tips about how to organize your home. But he also wrote a book called, you know, Does This Clutter Make My Butt Look Fat? And it really, you know, has, like, everything is connected. So how you do anything is how you do everything. And Ruth really has that same perspective, that she just reminds me of Peter Walsh. And Ruth, you know, Peter Walsh, like, ended up being, like, one of Oprah's people. So you got a good little thing going there. So I would like really work the scrapbooking organizing thing on your blog if you're at all organized, because all the Americans anyways, if they're anything like me, will associate you with Peter Walsh, and then you can be like the scrapbooking organization diva. anyways, and then there is Noelle Hyman, who's the host, and she has the Paperclipping Roundtable podcast, and then she also has the Paperclipping membership, which if you haven't ever done that, like, definitely, like, sign up for 6 months and watch all those videos as often as you can. And I think you can download them. When I did it, I didn't, but I think I probably will join at some point again, because there's a lot there, and so that's why, like, I do like one thing at a time, just because otherwise it seems like too much. It overwhelms me, and then I feel like I got too much to do, and then I don't want to do any of it. So, but everybody's different. So, if you're not taking online classes, I would say give them a try. Do some free ones first to see what's out there and see who you like, and then make your choices from there. And please come visit me at kissandtellscrapbooking.com. I love to get comments, and I am a very inconsistent blogger and inconsistent video maker, but when I'm inspired to do so, I do, and when I'm not, I don't. So anyways, thank you for watching, Katie Scott, and thank you. Goodbye.